Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the penultimate episode of our Final Fantasy IX Excalibur II Perfect Game. So this is it, guys. We've got two more bosses, one of which we'll be facing off against today, and then the Excalibur II sword and PS4 trophy will be ours at last. But before we get to that boss, we've got to get through the scenes, and I know that I like to use the fast travel mode, but I can't have this scene. Queen is just too funny. Oh, Queen absolutely does crack me up. Really does. You know, a lot of the time, silly, stupid characters do not work in films, in games. They try and be funny, and oftentimes they're just cringeworthy. But I actually think that Queen is one of those rare characters that's supposed to be silly, but it's actually done right. It's actually done correctly. Not only is Queen very, very funny, but you do actually tend to care about him or her as well. So even though, yeah, like I say, it is a silly character, it's not silly at the expense of the rest of the characterisation. It does actually work. Now I know, of course, that there's going to be people annoyed by that character, but for me, I personally think that it does actually work well. Anyway, time to move on now. So we're going to have to head up these stairs here after this scene. And the boss is actually not too bad, in all honesty. This is actually what you're going to see, the first attempt that I made on this boss. So I haven't done any practice yet. This was supposed to be my practice, but I managed to, you know, get it done first attempt, and it wasn't too much of an issue. Because of the way we've set up our characters in the last episode, a lot of the damage that this boss is going to put out to us is actually going to be resisted or absorbed. So the AoE attack that the boss does, which is Watergar, is only going to affect Amaranth, and the other attacks are either going to be guarded or have a low hit chance. Now, he will kill characters, but most of the time that's going to be through single target attacks. In fact, it's always going to be, I think, through single target attacks. One of the nuisances with this fight is the fact that he tends to counter every attack that's made against him. Now, the reason why that's generally a problem is because his attacks are very slow, and it's going to add quite a bit to our time. So you can use the speed up function if you want, but you'll have to keep speeding up, slowing down to issue commands, otherwise you're going to keep filling up his ATB gorge. But in all honesty, if you're ahead on time as I am, then it's not really a big deal. One thing that's very, very important in this fight, according to Thomas's guide, is that you need to steal the Genji helmet from the body. So make sure you do choose steal. One of the annoying the annoying things with Zidane getting healed here with Watergar is that charge is not going to be as effective with Steiner. So it'd be helpful if Zidane would get killed at some point, so that we could get him Phoenix down and back up to back down, I should say, to critical health status. Other than stealing the Genji helmet, the strategy for taking this guy down is fairly simple. Now, he does like to cast more often with Watergar if both of his tentacles have been destroyed. So you're better off killing one tentacle. The guide recommends doing so with Amaranth and Zidane, and then weakening the other tentacle, but not killing it, so a single attack with Freya will do that. To be honest, I just wanted Zidane stealing, so I used Amaranth and Freya to attack a tentacle to kill it, and then on Freya's next turn, she can weaken the second tentacle. Once you've got the Genji helmet, the main strategy then involves charge with Steiner, so make sure you've got the Coral Sword equipped, which you should have, and then with everyone in critical health, you'll be able to finish him off quite quickly within 2 or 3 rounds of using charge. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out that way for me, which is why I ended up extending this battle longer than I really would have liked, because people kept dying, Zidane wasn't in critical health status, charge just wasn't really being effective, so I was having to rely more and more on the single target damage spells from the party members, which meant more counters, which meant a longer battle. If you are pushed for time, then you'll want to make better use of charge than I've been able to here. That said, even though this battle's gone on a little bit slow, as you'll see by the end of the fight, I never had to use any of the toggles. I think at one point I toggled the high speed mode on, but in terms of the actual battle assist or max damage or anything like that, I never use any of them. So, and this was, as I say, my first attempt at this boss. And that's mainly because it was a practice run. Generally in practice I don't use the toggles because I want to see exactly what I'm up against. But I ended up, you know, as I say, not needing to do so at all in this fight. So it's not a difficult one. Ink can be a bit of a problem. It will one-shot a character if it hits them, but it does seem to have a low hit chance. At least that was my experience with that. It missed more often than it hit, for sure. Amaranth's a bit of a nuisance because it seems the boss seems to like to cast Water Guard every time I cast Phoenix down on him. Once again, minimising the effect of charge, which is just really annoying. But unfortunately, that's just the way it goes, I guess. So it was a good a good thing that we managed to pop back to Limblom when we was doing the Nero Brothers to stop up on Phoenix Downs, because we're going through them a dime a dozen here now over these last couple of bosses. And even though the guide doesn't specifically say you should do that, I think we would have had a few issues had we not done so. Ah, well there's one of the rare times where we actually see Ink hit its target. And fortunately Water Guard won't do now here, since it's only Steiner and Freya that are alive. And they're both resistant. I think it's the Diamond Gloves that give them resistance to Water Guard, which is better actually than absorbing it because it keeps them in that critical health status. Another time where Ink hits. Maybe it doesn't have a low hit chance and I was just lucky the first few times for it to miss so often. And yeah, things got a little bit worrying at this point. Steiner ended up being the only character alive. So fortunately we just get hit with a Water Guard here, which isn't going to do anything. So we should have the opportunity to start getting people brought back to life before the party starts getting one shot. Of course, once you've stolen the Genji helmet, you can finish things off quickly with the max damage toggle, but that's entirely up to you. There's nothing that will go onto the save file that suggests you've used it, so your save file will look exactly the same as anybody else's by the end of the playthrough that does this. But I don't think you need to on this fight. And there he goes. So quite a long encounter. He had quite a bit of health, but managed to take him down. Alright, so all we actually need to do now to finish this episode off is head into the next area and go over to the hidden save crystal, which is just over here in the corner. That clicking you can hear is the clock on the wall. It's not me mashing buttons or anything. I know it kind of sounds like that, but it wasn't, I assure you. We do need to resurrect Amaranth, but I'll do that at the start of the next episode. And in fact, that's going to be the final episode of the pre-Excalibur II part of the walkthrough anyway. Since the next session, which is D4-05, we have one boss battle. And after that boss battle, we get Excalibur II. So long as we can kill that boss within the next 55 minutes. And I'd be very surprised if we can't. The actual target time for the end of this episode that we've just finished is 11 hours and 10 minutes 59 seconds. So we are a good 5 minutes still ahead of schedule. And it doesn't really even matter if you're, you know, well ahead of the target time by this point. Even if you had like only 10 minutes to go, say 11 hours 50, then that would still be plenty of time to, you know, go and do the Lich and loot the Excalibur II. So the guide does give you a fair bit of leeway in terms of the target times, in my opinion. But even so, that's not going to be an issue for us because we're so far ahead. So once we've got the Excalibur II in the next episode, we're going to have to spend some time after that doing the leftovers. And as the guide says, you probably never had more to do on Disc 4 than you will have after this playthrough, because we've skipped everything that can be skipped until that point. But that's it for me for today, guys, so thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next time.